This week, the big events for this competitive jiu-jitsu season started shaping up. Jiu-jitsu shined bright in the world of MMA, and more allegations have surfaced against the leaders of one of the biggest long-standing jiu-jitsu organizations across the globe involving inappropriate abuse of minors. But before we get too serious, let's go to CCFC, where Damian Anderson had his 5th pro fight and came away with his 5th finish as well, this time with a devastating breaking knee bar out of this outside Ashi entry. If you make the mistake of letting Damian Anderson anywhere near your legs or neck, it will be the worst mistake you make that night. I seriously believe Anderson is one of the most talented and knowledgeable grapplers in all of bantamweight MMA. I'm jumping the gun so much here, but could you imagine the grappling exchanges between him and Merab, Peter Yan, or even Mario Batista, who's shown that he's part of that elite grappling group this past Saturday? He's been thriving in MMA, but the man was stolen from the grappling world too early, right as he was starting to get really elite matchups, and he can truly hang with just about anybody in the world. His last jiu-jitsu match was at the end of 2024, but to this day he's still considered a coaching figure, training every day with the B team, and even played a major role in helping them secure the $1 million team prize at CJI2 as a coach. He suffered an injury that kept him out of MMA competition for a while, but I truly believe that if he can stay healthy, his grappling mind and the stand-up he's showing early in his career can take him very far. It's hard to tell how honest a celebrity is being when they reveal that they train jiu-jitsu, especially when guys like Ashton Kutcher are going on Jimmy Fallon, showing a brutal scissor sweep like this and claiming to be a black belt, or with all these models climbing up the ranks at BJ Penn level speed. But one guy that's more convincing is Tom Hardy, who seems to actually be into jiu-jitsu as a hobby like so many else of us normal people, and he's most recently shared that he's earned a brown belt from Tom DeBlas. Hardy started training martial arts in his 40s and has followed a very typical belt progression and the achievement of his latest upgrade. On top of that, many people have shared anecdotal stories about training consistently with Tom, and he's even taken up the challenge of competing in local UK tournaments. You can never really know until you get on the mats with someone, but to me this one is passing the legit test. Many of us are pointing our attention to Milano in Italy this week, which doesn't include jiu-jitsu by the way, and if you want to know more about that, click this video here or check out the first link in the description. But if you were tuned into the Olympics, you might have missed the first ever 4-way match at main character jiu-jitsu. There's only one real rule. It's that 2 guys can't be attacking the same person at once. And remember that because it matters later. Immediately we had the 2 groups split up naturally, but as they inched closer together, this guy went for the collateral and threw his opponent on top of the others, which caused some chaos and initiated a 1-for-1 swap. The thrower got double-legged, but managed to counter with the triangle, and this was actually enough to take the first man out of the fight. He was feeling himself, hot dogging a little bit after this one, but almost got snuck up on and had to shut that down. After getting taken down again, the same guy was working on a crucifix when the third guy had forgotten the only rule and started joining in to attack the crucifix victim. He was stopped, but the poor third guy was feeling really left out and couldn't help himself from trying to jump into the scrum again and had to be told, "That's the only rule, buddy, you're not allowed to do that." A bit later, the bald guy was in on a leg lock and triangle guy was escaping it, which meant he was now open to be attacked since he wasn't defending anything. So the eager beaver jumped on his back and went to town on the bald guy, all while keeping an eye on Triangle, who was catching his breath. Poor bald guy couldn't catch a break because it almost looked like they were teaming up against him, until we ended up here with the first ever human centipede of attacks, where the chain of attacking / defending of all 3 guys was all going on at once. This was such an interesting dynamic because the guys continually had one guy attacking where they would be close to a submission, but the third guy would just jump in to go for a submission of their own, which would basically help save the first victim. This was so unserious, and I don't necessarily think that it worked, and the rules are definitely not very fleshed out, but I did find it super entertaining. It ended when the bald guy hit this super tight Tarico Plata finish that actually cost him in the end, as Triangle jumped on, immediately exposing the back and ended the event in a rear naked choke. ADCC officially confirmed that the previous 2024 champions will be invited back for ADCC 2026. But the first few sets of trials are already behind us and the divisions are looking good, but I can't help but point out the under 77 and under 88s will have a few holes. First off, Giancarlo Bodoni is still going to be questionable with the recovery from his knee surgery, but shout out to this commenter who suggested it may be a more common and less serious procedure that he underwent and may only take up to 6 weeks to recover from. The other hole is at under 77, where Isaac Michel will be questionable. Right now, he's reportedly in hiding somewhere in Australia to get away from American law enforcement, who have issued a warrant for his arrest on second-degree sexual assault charges. Those were made over 30 days ago and he hasn't appeared anywhere, so I don't know if you can compete at ADCC with that going on in your life. So let's assume he's out, and in that case, we're going to see more invites. And that means winning a silver or bronze medal at trials for the under 77 kilogram division could be hitting the jackpot this year. Speaking of ADCC invites, did you know Dylan Dennis was invited to ADCC 3 different times without ever winning a trials event? Getting clicks on the internet used to go a long way.
So John Jones
Scared.
is scared.
Bro, I'm telling you right now, you see his legs?
Yeah.
You ever seen his legs?
They're skinny legs. He got skinny legs.
I would snap that in 2 seconds.
And maybe it still does, because Craig Jones took to Instagram to share the first official matchup for CJI 3, which will be between him and Dylan Dennis. By the way, that ring girl looks familiar.
I'm going to fucking train jiu-jitsu.
He's officially looking to continue the run of taking out the most absurd matchup he can think of, and this time it'll be someone who hasn't had a grappling match since 2017, but did do a couple MMA fights in 2019 before his retirement boxing match, if you can even call it that, in 2023. Dennis managed to stay relevant, sort of just as a social media troll after his short MMA career, which scored him the Logan Paul fight. But I really thought that would be the last we saw of his fighting career. To be fair, he's light years better in a pure grappling sense than he was at MMA or boxing, and him and Craig are around the same age, but definitely not the same size, so I think it could be a more competitive match than Gabby Garcia or Chael Sonnen, obviously. But we still don't know what the actual format will be for the next CJI event. Obviously, the first event was a straight up bracket with 2 weight classes, and CJI 2 was a team format. I don't know if they'll go back to this format because it was a bit rocky, especially on day 1, where the subs weren't flowing, and CJI is definitely more about the spectacle and the show than actually crowning a champion. Plus, one of the biggest teams in the world is no longer intact. I of course am talking about Atos Jiu-Jitsu, who were one of the favorites to take home the $1 million prize last time, and they were head coached by Andre Galvao. Galvao is still in hot water after last week's allegations were made that he had been acting inappropriately with female members of the gym, stemming from a post by his former student Alexa Hurst, who claims to have filed a report with law enforcement. She stated to have had a trusting relationship with her coach before he began making comments about her body, made moaning sounds in her ear while training, and even would get close to her head to lick her ear. If this is true, it's a truly sickening abuse of power, considering how a young athlete looks up to their mentors and how easily someone like Galvao, a multiple-time world champion, could force themselves onto a child like this. Galvao's situation worsened when many Atos athletes and outside personalities that worked with him began voicing their separation. Other gyms have stated that they stand with the accusers, and even major brands have suspended sponsorships while speaking out against such acts and severing ties with the Galvaos and the Atos team. To protect the organization and investigate the allegations, even Atos, the organization itself, has made a public statement that they've decided to indefinitely separate from Andre and Angelica. On the other side of the coin, 2 parties have come forward standing in defense of the accused. Jonathan Eliaquim is an instructor for Atos Zurich, and he posted a statement reading, "Galvao is an incredible champion, dedicated instructor, and man of integrity. These unfounded rumors do not define him or his legacy." An even higher profile Atos affiliate Davi Ramos, the ADCC veteran and UFC alumni, made it clear that he believes, "In all the years working with Galvao, I never saw or heard any person making this type of accusation against him, and we know the enormous quantity of male and female students who have passed through his hands." But this is contrary to Alexa's views when she wrote, "I know for a fact I'm not the only victim of this," and hoped to inspire courage in other victims of abuse to make their stories public. And Alexa's post spurred a frenzy of stories to emerge over the last 2 weeks, where claims were made by women who experienced some form of abuse from people holding positions of power in the sport. One of the largest gyms in question is Checkmat, who have suspended Leandro Vieira from all affiliation with the team after the resurfacing of accusations by Julie Trevino, who has reportedly filed a lawsuit against him for an incident that occurred 10 years ago while she was a minor. Alyssa Mila also posted allegations against Leandro's brother Ricardo Vieira, where she claims he made inappropriate sexual advances on her on a training retreat when she was just 16 years old. The alleged acts include caressing her leg and inner thigh with his feet and hands, and even forcing his hands down her shirt. At this point, none of these stories has undergone any legal trials and no charges have been made, but the jiu-jitsu community has erupted with dozens more coming forward to share their experiences of abuse. Popular jiu-jitsu based blogs and social media accounts like Train Angry MMA are highlighting seemingly endless stories of abuse of power, including even a recent accusation of grooming against Andre Galvao's brother Gustavo, who they're depicting to be in a long-term relationship with a student that he's had since she was underage. Some feel that none of these claims should be taken seriously to protect the image of the accused until any legal judgment is passed. Others even believe that men and women shouldn't train together due to the touchy nature of the sport, and many feel that the real root of the issue is the hierarchical system embedded in the sport of jiu-jitsu that creates a god complex for many instructors that run a gym.
You're no longer just teaching jiu-jitsu, but you're teaching people about life. But the thing is, you're not actually that good at life, but for some reason you're teaching it to these people who seem to think you are. And this is the fundamental power asymmetry that occurs that allows these abuses to happen, okay?
Whatever you believe is up to you, but I hope that the disturbing allegations like this ultimately help to improve solutions for safety within the sport for all. I wanted this series to be about breaking down grappling news, but I didn't expect there to be so much dark drama this quickly. To end on a better note, let's go to the grappling performance of the week, which hands down goes to Mario Batista in round 2 of his fight with Vinicius Oliveira. Batista started off the round with 4 takedowns in 4 different ways, always letting Oliveira just enough room to fight his way back up, which just looked so exhausting and had him checking the clock just 2 minutes into the round. We also know that Oliveira had to do a 30-pound weight cut the week of the fight, so I'm not sure why he thought he was in 5-round fight shape. Desperate to get off the wall, Oliveira countered a body kick, making it his own single leg grip, and swept Batista down. But Batista held his whizzer and inserted a bottom side butterfly hook to reverse the position, immediately coming on top and putting the pressure on to get out of Oliveira's guard. The final sequence was a work of art at 1 minute left. Mario blocked the hip to create an angle for his knee cut directly into a crucifix position, where he had Oliveira completely trapped and started raining elbows down. As Oliveira desperately tried to roll, he gave up his arm, where Batista locked up a Kimura grip and nearly snapped his elbow off, before eventually transitioning to the back and wrapping the neck for a super quick tap on the rear naked choke finish. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you enjoyed.